Discover the miraculous journey of Levi, cursed by Jacob, yet chosen for God's incredible plan. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, the sons of Jacob, weary from their travels, gathered under the vast expanse of night, their hearts heavy with grief and shame. The shadows loomed large, particularly for Levi, the 3rd son of Leah. He was haunted by recent events, the tragic fate of their sister Dinah and the violent act of retaliation he had committed against Shechem. His father's voice echoed in his ears, a bitter lament that pronounced, "Cursed be their anger," directed at Levi for his fierce actions that led to the destruction of a city. The words clung to him like a shroud, a perpetual reminder of his past. Levi gazed into the star-studded heavens, grappling with the tempest of guilt that raged within him. His brothers, though silent, carried their own burdens, whispers of uncertainty unfurling among them like the wind across the desert sands. The air was thick with tension, every breath felt weighted by the sins of the flesh and the shadows of their lineage. Judah's victories, though celebrated, cast a pall over Levi's own darkened spirit, magnifying his failures. Could a future of honor bloom from this blood-stained ground? In the stillness of the night, while the camp slept, a flicker of divine light caught Levi's eye. He wandered toward it, captivated, and stumbled upon Moses conversing with a burning bush, a sight both terrifying and awe-inspiring. The flames did not consume, yet out of the fire came a voice, rich with authority and reverence. "I have called your people," it proclaimed, speaking of their destiny. "The descendants of Levi shall serve as priests to me." A gasp escaped Levi's lips, the wonder intertwining with doubt. Could he, marred by violence and a father's curse, be chosen for such a sanctified role? Overwhelmed by his past and the fear of judgment, he whispered, "Here I am," stepping tremblingly toward Moses. Marauding doubts shadowed him, but the promise he had overheard planted the tiniest seed of faith in his heart. Could he be more than the curse that bound him? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As Moses began to speak of the Levite's sacred calling, the shadows of Levi's doubt clung to him. He stood at the crossroads of his identity, poised precariously between a past of destruction and a future of divine purpose. The flickering flames of the bush seemed to grow brighter, illuminating the truth: God wields redemption even amidst the remnants of wrath. The tribe of Levi would be chosen, their destiny intertwined with the heart of worship and service to Yahweh, yet Levi felt the weight of his choice pressing down once again. Would he answer the call, stepping into the promise of grace, or retreat into the curse laid over him by his father? Night faded into dawn, and with the rising sun, Levi's mind wrestled with the realization that only through embracing his past could he pave a future rich in the glory of divine mercy. An unexpected trial awaited, one that would ultimately reveal whether he could truly forge ahead, transforming his legacy from one of destruction to a narrative of profound grace. As dawn broke, the soft light of the sun illuminated the landscape, revealing to Levi a world ripe with possibility, yet shadowed by the weight of his sins. He stood still, the fading echoes of the divine message resonating within him. "The descendants of Levi shall serve as priests to me." These words were both a promise and a challenge, stirring the depths of Levi's soul. Could he truly rise to meet such a divine calling? Moses turned to Levi with eyes aflame with purpose. "You have been chosen," he declared, "to sanctify the holy place among the people. You will bear the burdens of those who seek redemption, lifting the hearts of Israel to Yahweh." Levi's heart raced not merely from fear but from the dawning comprehension of what this call meant. As he gazed into Moses' eyes, he saw not only a leader but a reflection of divine grace. "But how can I be worthy?" he asked, vulnerability pouring from his lips. "I carry the stain of violence, a curse upon my name." Without hesitation, Moses replied, "From the ashes of failure comes the fire of servant leadership. It is by his grace that your lineage shall stand before the Lord. What man sees as unworthy, God redeems. You must understand, it is not the past that defines you, but the promise of his future. With each word, Levi felt the shadows of self-doubt shift within him, revealing the flicker of hope. He thought about the sacrifices made by Isaac, and the covenant bestowed upon his father Jacob, how the Lord wrestled with Jacob and transformed him. Just as the angel had named him Israel, could he Levi be made new in service to the Almighty? Determined, Levi took a step forward, a unified declaration rising within him. Then I will answer the call. I will stand with the Levites and fulfill the duties tasked to our tribe. Moses smiled, raising his staff toward heaven. Then let it be known, you are not just Levi, you are chosen, destined to carry forth my message to the people. In the wilderness, we are all but vessels of mercy, truth, and unwavering obedience. Embrace your heritage and let it fuel your service. As the words took root in his spirit, Levi envisioned his brothers witnessing his transformation not as a symbol of his past failures but as a beacon of redemptive grace. The murmurs of doubt that had once echoing in his heart began to fade, and he found himself filled with a newfound zeal, but amid this awakening, another thought pricked at his heart: what trials lay ahead? The journey to fulfill his divine destiny would not come without challenges. The path of the Levites would be fraught with obstacles, and they would be tested as never before, and so, as the sun ascended into its glorious height, Levi steeled himself for the journey ahead. A calling awaited him, purified through faith, tested in the fires of hardship, and resonating with the promise of Yahweh. His legacy would not echo his past deeds, but instead, harmonize with the melody of divine restoration that God orchestrated. Yet, as Levi moved forward, a question remained that haunted his heart: how would his brothers react to this profound change? Would they accept his new identity, or would they still gaze upon him through the lens of their shared history? As Levi took up the mantle of his calling, the reality of the future lingered like a shadow, both daunting and hopeful, a divine mystery awaiting revelation in God's sovereign plan. The sun stood high in the heavens, casting a golden light upon the encampment of Israel. It was a new day, yet the air bore the weight of anticipation. Levi, along with his brothers, gathered as a tribe, lingering in the soft whispers of uncertainty that hung among them. What awaited them? Moses called the people together, his voice resonating with authority as he prepared to unveil the divine strategy for their journey. Hear, O sons of Jacob! The God of our fathers has spoken. He has a plan for us in the wilderness, one that will forever change our course. The murmurs of the faithful swelled with curiosity, they were eager to know how the Lord would guide them. Levi felt the gaze of his brothers upon him, the weight of their scrutiny like a cloak draped over his shoulders. Would they see the new man he aspired to be? Or would their minds linger on the shadows of his past? His heart beat with the rhythm of uncertainty while the Spirit stirred within him, a gentle reminder of the promises spoken over his life. As Moses raised his staff high above his head, he proclaimed, "The Lord has commanded that the Levites be set apart as his holy priests, to serve him in reverence, to bear the burdens of the people, and to offer sacrifices for the atonement of their souls." This declaration echoed through the crowd, reverberating within the hearts of both the faithful and hesitant. The tribe of Levi stood before the people, a mixture of pride and trepidation coursing through them. Levi's mind raced. I am not yet worthy, I am stained. Yet in that very moment, as the words of Moses echoed in his ears, he felt a surge of light envelop him amidst the shadows of doubt. "Brothers," he spoke, his voice steady as he addressed the assembly, "I must fulfill this calling. I am chosen by God to represent all of you, to lead us further into his promise." The air was heavy with their collective breath as listeners clung to his words, grappling with the implications of this new reality. Some of his brothers exchanged skeptical glances, their expressions etched with doubt, while others, drawn by his sincerity, began to nod in agreement. Among his wounded heart, Levi discerned a flicker of acceptance, perhaps even admiration. At that moment, a figure emerged from the crowd. It was Reuben, firstborn son of Jacob. His countenance bore the weight of years and experience but shone with honesty. "Levi," Reuben began, "your past is not hidden from us, but neither can we deny that our God is a God of restoration. If he has chosen you, who are we to oppose his decree? A hush fell as Leah, their mother, approached, her voice soft yet firm. You have suffered under the burden of your past. Know this, my sons, every great call comes with the shadow of trial, but God is faithful to transform even the most broken of vessels into instruments of his grace. Encouraged by their words, Levi found strength in their acceptance. In that holy moment, he understood that God was not merely calling him to serve but also to showcase his redemptive power through the inadequacies of human flesh. Suddenly, a cloud loomed on the horizon, a reminder that the wilderness harbored its own trials. Moses, with prophetic foresight, raised his voice again, prepare yourselves. We shall soon face tests that will reveal our hearts. Unity among us is essential, for our God is leading us to the promised land. Follow the light of his presence. With this solemn reminder, Levi and his brothers gathered close, their collective resolve igniting a fire within their hearts. Each man stood not merely for himself, but as a united front against the challenges that lay ahead. Levi breathed deeply of the promise woven into their calling, and yet, as they readied themselves for the journey, whispered winds encircled the camp, hinting at trials and tribulations yet unforeseen. What might the wilderness reveal? Levi pondered, uncertainty looming, yet fueled by hope. In the distance, the pattern of divine instruction began to unfold, a revelation of God's sovereign plan, setting their hearts ablaze with both fear and faith. What awaited them at the edge of this new land, this land promised by Yahweh? As the shadows lengthened and the golden light of day began to fade, a hush descended upon the encampment. The tribe of Levi, gathered in a semicircle before Moses, felt the urgency of their calling. Yet the murmurs of uncertainty still lingered, as hearts wrestled with what awaited them in the wilderness. Moses, his voice unwavering, continued, the Lord has commanded us to sanctify ourselves, for tomorrow he will reveal his glory among us. There was a weight in those words, a promise shrouded in mystery that drew Levi deeper into contemplation. To behold the divine was a privilege few could claim. Could he stand worthy in that presence? Sanctify yourselves. Echoed through the ranks, inspiring the faithful to prepare their hearts. Levi closed his eyes and inhaled deeply, envisioning the transformation the Lord was about to wrought within this camp. As he opened his eyes, he caught the gaze of his brothers. Each face reflected a mix of hope and trepidation, yet in that moment, they appeared united in purpose. Let us cleanse ourselves, Levi urged, for we are to carry the burdens of our people. We cannot lead if we are not made whole. The resolve in his voice ignited a spark among them. They moved as one, gathering near the brook that flowed from the mountains. Along its banks, they washed away the dust of Egypt, the remnants of the life they had known. As they cleansed their bodies, their spirits began to awaken. The realization settled upon them that this journey was as much about the inner transformation as it was about the trials that lay ahead. Their pasts could no longer bind them, they were moving towards a promised tomorrow. That night, as the stars flared against the vast sky, the people gathered under the heavenly canopy, eyes lifted in reverence. Levi stood among them, a quiet resolve settling in his heart. The fire crackled, its light representing the divine presence that was yet to be revealed. He could feel the Spirit's movement among them, urging them to wait in expectation. Suddenly, the earth trembled beneath their feet, and the camp murmured with fright. Levi's heart raced. From the high mountains, a sound like a trumpet echoed across the plain, stirring the hearts of the men and women. What is this? They inquired, eyes wide with both fear and wonder. Moses raised his hands, directing their attention skyward. The Lord is approaching. He declared, his voice a beacon of confidence amidst uncertainty. Fear not, for I tell you, our God is compassionate, and he desires to dwell among his people. Prepare your hearts to meet him. As dawn broke, a thick cloud descended upon the mountain, enveloping it in divine majesty. Lightning danced like the very will of God, and thunder rolled, echoing through the camp. The people were filled with awe and trepidation, for they sensed that the Lord was in their midst. Levi observed the trembling of his brother's lips, the wide eyes that mirrored both terror and fascination. He is revealing himself as we journey, he thought, overwhelmed by the weight of the moment. But he does not call us to fear, rather, to faith, for through him all things are made new. In the brightness of the morning, the voice of the Lord thundered forth from the cloud, enveloping the congregation in sacred silence. Each heart was captured by the divine tone and encounter that would forever imprint their spirits. Levi could discern a singular thread weaving through the chaos. It was the promise of God to be with his people. "I am the God of your forefathers," the voice proclaimed, "and I shall lead you, for your journey does not cease here. The land of promise awaits, a land flowing with milk and honey. Yet know this, you must remain steadfast, for great challenges will rise before you." In that solemn moment, the gravity of the Lord's words took root in Levi's heart. He understood that their journey was not merely to claim land, but to embody faith amidst trials. The path forward would demand unity, sacrifice, and the lifting of one another's burdens in love. With renewed fervor, Levi crafted his resolve. He stood among his tribe, filled with courage as the divine plan unfurled before him. "Let us be united, for we are called to a purpose far greater than ourselves," he proclaimed. The Spirit of the Lord moved upon them, forging a bond sealed by faith. Yet as they prepared to move into the unknown, whispers of discontent began to stir among those who doubted the promise. Levi's heart quickened. What trials awaited them still? What would it require of them to remain faithful amidst the storms ahead? The path lay before them, but the outcome was still cloaked in divine mystery. In that divine fog, Levi found solace, ignited by the hope that God's sovereign plan was unfolding even as trials loomed near. He sensed they would embark on a journey that would unveil even greater wonders than they could imagine, a revelation of their identity and destiny, not merely as a tribe, but as a people chosen and cherished by the Almighty. Would they stand firm, united in purpose, as they ventured forth into the wilderness? The answer lay yet unseen, shrouded in the depths of God's glorious design. As the morning light broke upon the encampment, the people gathered, hearts stirred with anticipation. They had witnessed the divine presence enveloping the mountain, and now, a profound stillness fell over the congregation, weighty with expectation. Levi stood resolute, determined to lead with faith as the Spirit of the Lord began to stir among them. "Brothers and sisters, let us draw near," Levi called, directing their attention toward the awe-inspiring sight atop the mountain. "The Lord who has set us apart calls us to trust him. For he is holy, and we must not forget the covenant he established with our forefathers. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob calls us to be his people." His voice reverberated with authority and conviction, igniting a fervor in the hearts of those present. Yet amid this sacred devotion, shadows of doubt crept through the ranks of the people. From the edges of the assembly, whispers arose like dry leaves rustling in the wind. "How can we journey forward when uncertainty abounds?" One murmured. "What if we falter? What if the land promises are beyond our reach?" The murmurs spread like wildfire, causing hearts to sink beneath the weight of fear. Levi's spirit contracted at the sound of dissent. Mistrust gnawed at him like a hungry beast, for he understood that doubt could sow division among the faithful. "Remember the power of our God," he implored, raising his voice above the discord. "He who split the sea and delivered us from the hands of Pharaoh will lead us still. Do not focus on the challenges ahead, but rather on the one who goes before us." As the sun climbed higher, the cloud upon the mountain seemed to shift, expelling radiant beams that flickered like the flames of the altar. The voice of the Lord thundered once more, sending ripples through the assembly. "Hearken unto me, O people. I am who I am. My covenant remains with you. Safeguard the words that I speak today." The words cascaded over them, washing the doubt from many hearts, yet some remained unmoved, lost in the mire of skepticism. Levi could feel the tension pulling at the fabric of their community, and the urgency to unite only intensified in his heart. "People of God," he called out again, desperation tinged with authority. "You are chosen. Fear not the wilderness, for the Lord will provide." As the voice of the Almighty faded, a heavy silence blanketed the camp, charged with the Spirit's presence. Each man and woman felt the weight of the moment, a reminder of the divine calling upon their lives. Levi sensed that this was a turning point, one where hearts either converged in unity or splintered in doubt. That in the depths of his spirit, Levi recalled the stories told by Jacob, his father, of divine dreams and promises, ones that had aimed to bless future generations. Our identity is intertwined with his purpose. He reminded his kin. Let us recount the deeds of the Lord in our life, how he led us from bondage to freedom, how he parted the waters, and how he crowned our steps with hope. Taken by the gravity of his words, a ripple of agreement began to surge through the assembly. Yes. We are his people. They responded, voices intertwining like melody in the wind. Levi's heart leapt, for he saw the spark of faith rekindling among them. But as they stood unified in purpose, an ominous feeling loomed in the air. The ground beneath them felt restless as unseen shadows lingered at the edge of the encampment. Levi turned, sensing the echoes of his ancestors' warnings. They were not just traveling towards a promise, they were also on a path that would test their faith amidst great opposition. Tomorrow, we begin our journey toward the land of promise, but know this: trials will come, questions will arise, and faith will be tested. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. For it is through our trials that we shall see the glory of the Lord. With that declaration, Levi stepped closer to the encampment center, aware that the encroaching uncertainty came not only from without but from within. His resolve deepened as he grasped the truth that this journey would not only redefine their relationship with the promised land but also with their God, and thus, they prepared their hearts. But as the night deepened, a whisper echoed through Levi's spirit, a reminder that amidst the uncertainty, something miraculous awaited. Could it be that at the end of this journey lay not only a physical land but a purer understanding of their identity as God's chosen? The answer shimmered just beyond reach, veiled in the mystery of his sovereign plan. As the dawn of the next day approached, the air crackled with palpable anticipation and unspoken fears. Levi rose early, his heart burdened yet hopeful, as he turned his eyes to the mountain which had witnessed the glory of God. A mist clung to the ground, as if the very earth awaited a new beginning, a manifestation of the promises that lay ahead. He called the people together, rallying them with strength. Arise, for today we heed the call of the Lord. He has set our feet upon a path leading to a land flowing with milk and honey. Let us prepare our hearts and minds to follow where his voice leads. As the gathered multitude began to move, Levi sensed a division in their hearts. While many surged forward, buoyed by faith, others lingered hesitantly, their eyes filled with trepidation. Among them, a man of great stature, Reuben, spoke boldly. But Levi, we cannot move toward the unknown without assurance. What if the inhabitants of that land are fierce? What if our quest leads only to our demise? Levi leaned closer, meeting Reuben's gaze with unwavering resolve. Fear not, brother. Do you not remember the promises of our God? He is with us, and he has not brought us to the brink of this journey to let us fall. He gestured toward the mountain. The same God who delivered us from slavery shall fight for us. Let us walk by faith, not by sight. The people murmured, recalling the mighty works of the Lord. Yet doubt still tainted some hearts, and Levi recognized the internal strife was as pressing as the external threats they might face. As they began their march, the sun broke free from the horizon, illuminating the way. Suddenly, the clouds overhead parted and a voice rang out, echoing through the valley. Be strong and courageous. For the Lord your God goes with you wherever you go. The voice, though thunderous, was tender, igniting a fire in the souls of the people. What is this? Someone asked in wonder, eyes wide with astonishment. Could it be that the Lord speaks to us even now? Indeed. Levi proclaimed with a fierce joy. He reassures us that his presence is not confined to the mountain. He accompanies us through the wilderness. Therefore, let us take heart. Thus, they set forth, leaving their encampment behind, the formation of their ranks standing firm against the whispers of fear. As they journeyed deeper into the wilderness, the land around them transformed. The laughter of children, the rustling of leaves, and the gentle babblings of streams accompanied them, a reminder of God's creation, thriving despite the challenges they faced. However, in the stillness of their march, Levi perceived a growing disturbance, a sense that they were not alone. The darkness clung tightly, attempting to ensnare the fragile hearts of some. He felt it in his spirit, a test of their faith was nearing. As they reached the border of a valley, Levi raised his staff, invoking attention. "Brothers and sisters, heed my words. If we are to possess the promise, we must stand firm against the adversary. Remember our heritage, we carry the stories of Jacob and Joseph, the ones who once faced trials they thought insurmountable." But Levi interrupted an elder of the people, "What if our pursuits are only met with resistance? What if we are met with failure? Failure is not the end." Levi exclaimed, his voice rising above the tremors of doubt. "For it is through failures that we find strength. Look to your brethren, to our forefathers, they possessed great faith through adversity. We are called to continue their legacy." Yet, a shadow loomed quietly from the depths of the valley. Unseen eyes watched, plotting. Levi felt the weight pulling at his heart, a reminder that while God's promises were steadfast, the journey would be fraught with trials. As the multitude advanced further, a sudden rustle broke the silence, a prelude to conflict drawing near. "What is this?" Levi exclaimed, grasping his staff firmly, a look of fierce determination etched upon his face. "Is our faith not enough to guard us against the darkness? Remember, though trials may come, we trust in the Lord." And so they marched, hearts entwined in purpose against an impending storm, with Levi's voice echoing in their minds, "For it is not merely the land that awaits us, but a greater revelation, the truth of who we are as God's chosen, which shall be unveiled in his perfect timing." But even as they pressed forward, a voice whispered in Levi's heart. Would they truly be ready to confront the encroaching darkness? The answer would soon unfold, revealing the depths of God's sovereign plan, entwining their destinies with a promise greater than they could ever imagine. As the echoes of Levi's exhortation faded into the wilderness, an uneasy stillness enveloped the multitude. The rustling of leaves and the distant calls of birds suddenly seemed silenced, as if the creation itself held its breath. Levi, keenly aware of the weight of their mission, felt the urgency swell within him, a divine call resounding like thunder in his ears. He lifted his staff high, a symbol of God's authority and promise. "Children of Israel," he declared, "do not let your hearts be troubled. The Lord of hosts is our banner. We are not as grasshoppers in the sight of our foes, we are the chosen ones." His voice stilled the murmurs that rippled through the crowd, drawing their eyes to him, yet, as they continued their descent into the valley, the ground trembled beneath their feet, as if the earth itself responded to the turmoil within their hearts. Suddenly, shadows flitted in the corners of their vision, gathering and swirling with malevolence. The atmosphere thickened, and a chill spread among them, igniting fear while tempting despair. "Look!" cried one of the women, clutching her children close. "What are these shadows that follow us?" "They are not shadows of mere men," Levi acknowledged solemnly. "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness that seeks to extinguish the light." He took a moment to look into the weary faces of his people, many stamped with doubts and weariness. They had endured harshness and hunger, they had trekked through the night, and the weight of uncertainty was threatening to unravel their faith. Levi felt the pulse of his own fear, yet he recalled the promises etched within his soul. "Fear not, for the victory is the Lord's. He will deliver us." Then, as if summoned by their collective dread, a figure emerged from the shadows before them, cloaked in darkened robes that fluttered like whispers of the deceiver. "You dare to believe you can conquer what you cannot see?" It taunted, the voice a chilling rasp that seemed to echo through the valley. With every fiber of his being, Levi stood taller, his eyes ablaze with divine authority. "We walk by faith, not by sight. You have no claim over us. You may attempt to instill fear, but our hope is anchored in the everlasting covenant." The figure faltered for a moment, cloaked in darkness yet now visibly shaken by Levi's fervor. The people gathered behind him, a tide of voices raised in unity, proclaiming, "We are not afraid. In that moment, the earth shook violently, a clear sign that the battle waged beyond mortal view. The winds howled, swirling around them, and the heavens opened with a dazzling light, a reminder of God's sovereign presence. "Seek me with all your heart, and you shall find relief," boomed a voice from above, thundering with authority and compassion. The light enveloped the valley, and the shadows quivered, retreating as if rebuked by the brilliance of divine illumination. In awe, the people dropped to their knees. "It is the Lord!" they exclaimed, hearts swelling with hope. Levi, feeling the weight of their faith, resolved to press onward toward the promise awaiting them. "Brothers and sisters, rise!" he commanded, emboldened by the divine assurance coursing through him. "The Lord has fought for us today." Yet even as the people broke from their reverent stupor, Levi felt a flicker of apprehension. What more lay ahead? What trials awaited them beyond this moment of victory? Little did they know that the unfolding of God's plan would soon reveal that their journeys were intricately woven with destinies yet unknown. Though they pressed forward with renewed strength, they had not yet encountered the fullness of what God had in store. As the valley receded behind them, a breath of wind carried a whisper through the air, echoing into the future a promise of redemption and revelation. And in the heart of Levi, the knowledge stirred: this was but the beginning of their miraculous journey, and the trials ahead were only steps toward unveiling God's ultimate purpose for his chosen people. And it came to pass, as they pressed forward, that Levi led the multitude through the wilderness, the sun hot upon their backs and the shadows of the trees a refuge along their path. The hearts of the people were stirred with hope, yet Levi sensed a heaviness in the air, a weight that foretold unrest yet to come. "Behold," he said, halting their march as the horizon loomed before them dark with distant storms. "We must gather our strength in prayer. For the Lord is our fortress, and he shall guide us through the tempest." They encircled Levi, forming a solemn grove rooted in shared faith. Hearts united, they knelt upon the earth, crying out to the Most High, each voice raised in harmony. "Almighty God," Levi pleaded, "sustain us. As we journey through this wilderness, let your cloud of glory be our guide. Show us your path and grant us courage for the trials that lie ahead." The wind began to stir, swirling about them, and a gentle silence filled the air. In that sacred moment, a vision graced Levi's mind, a vision of a land flowing with milk and honey, where the fruits were plenteous, and the waters sweet. The promises of their ancestors echoed in his heart, a reminder of the covenant made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. "Fear not, my people," Levi proclaimed, his spirit ignited by the vision. "The Lord has shown me the place he has prepared for us. It shall be a land of abundance, where we shall prosper and dwell in peace." The murmurs of encouragement rose among the people, hearts rekindling with anticipation. Yet, even as they celebrated the promise set before them, Levi's spirit wrestled with the knowledge that trials were yet to come. For they had not crossed the threshold of their greatest test. An army of giants awaited them in the land of promise, fierce and terrifying in their strength. "Let us not grow weary," Levi called, lifting his hands. "For the Lord has said, my strength is made perfect in weakness." We shall face these giants, not by our own might, but by the power of him who called us. As they continued on their way, strange sounds began to pierce the horizon. Yelling and the clanging of swords resonated like thunder against the heavens. "What is that sound?" a man in the crowd asked, his brow furrowed with concern. Levi turned, his heart racing. "These are signs of the battle that rages in the unseen realm. The enemies of God prepare for the confrontation, but we shall not fear." The path twined as they journeyed deeper, thickening with thorns and challenges, yet each step forward forged their unity and resolve. Inching closer to their promised land, Levi prayed fervently, asking the Lord for strength and wisdom. Suddenly, as they crested the next rise, a figure painted against the clouds appeared, a warrior clad in shimmering armor, whose presence radiated power and divine authority. The air crackled around them, and the multitude gasped in awe. "Who goes there?" Levi shouted, his voice firm amidst the mounting tension. "I am the commander of the army of the Lord," declared the figure, "and I am come to guide you into battle. For today, you shall not stand alone, the Lord of hosts fights for you." A thunder of voices erupted from the people, echoing their fervor. Yet, Levi noticed shadows gathering again, creeping along the ground as whispers of doubt filled the air. What if we falter? What if we cannot overcome? Believe. The warrior called, his voice booming yet gentle, like the roar of the sea. For I have ordained your victory, and the cries of the enemies shall become the sound of their own defeat. Strengthened by this revelation, Levi raised his staff once more, the divine light illuminating their path toward the confrontation ahead. Let us be steadfast. The Lord has prepared our way. And as they began their march forward towards destiny, the echoes of promise filled the air, divine assurance that every fear would be met with faith, every weapon with his might, yet unknown to them was a grander scheme unfolding, a covenant of generations, a predetermined deliverance that awaited them. For God's plan was not yet fully revealed. And the greatest victory lay still beyond their sight, ready to be unveiled in the fullness of time. And it came to pass, as the multitude pressed onward, emboldened by the appearance of the commander of the Lord's army, that Levi felt a stirring in his spirit, a call to unity amongst the people. Let us remember who we are. Levi proclaimed, his voice steady against the weight of the moment. We are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, chosen for this hour. The God of our forefathers goes before us, and his might shall be our strength. The people began to chant in unison, we are his chosen. We are his people. Their voices lifted toward heaven, mingling with the cries of the winds, a mighty testament to their faith. Each heart beat as one, bolstered by the promise that no adversary could stand against the might of the Almighty, yet as they ventured forth, the ground beneath their feet trembled. Levi's eyes, scanning the horizon, caught sight of dust swirling violently, an ominous sign of enemies approaching. Prepare yourselves. He shouted, galvanizing the assembly. For our faith shall be the weapon with which we conquer. As the dust settled, a multitude of fearsome giants emerged from the shadows, warriors clad in iron, fierce in stature and countenance. Levi's heart sank momentarily, but he recalled the promise of victory. Do not be afraid. He urged, raising his staff skyward. For the Lord your God fights for you. The giants roared like thunder, and the shaking earth echoed their challenge. A spear towered overhead as one stepped forward, casting a shadow over Levi and the people. You are but grasshoppers before us. He bellowed, eyes intent with wicked delight. The mocking laughter of the giants reached the heavens, a taunt that pierced the hearts of the gathered, but Levi, emboldened by the presence of the heavenly commander, looked upon the advancing army with steadfastness. This is not our battle alone, he declared, his voice unwavering. The battle is the Lord's. He will deliver us from our enemies. In that moment of climactic tension, the commander of the Lord's army stepped forth. Take courage, O faithful people, he thundered, raising his sword. For the Lord has declared that today you shall see his hand of deliverance. The hour of reckoning is upon the giants, and they shall fall by the hand of the Lord. A holy hush fell upon the crowd, the presence of God palpable in their midst. Levi, sensing the gravity of the moment, lifted his voice in prayer. O Lord, our refuge and strength, let your might be displayed. Let the earth shake under the weight of your glory, and let the hearts of these giants quake before you. The people responded with a chorus of Amen. Their faith ignited anew, hope flourishing in their hearts as they prepared for the showdown. Then, as if to fulfill Levi's earnest supplication, dark clouds began to gather, lightning tearing through the sky like divine judgment. The winds shifted, carrying with them a whisper of promise from God reverberating through the tumult. Levi stood firm, eyes fixed on the heavens, for he knew the Lord was bringing forth a revelation. In his might, he proclaimed, gazing fiercely at the giants, we shall overcome. The Lord will fight for us, and we shall be witnesses of his great power. As the confrontation drew nearer, Levi's heart danced with expectation. Yet a still small voice in his spirit echoed a deeper truth: what would this victory mean for generations to come? For even as they prepared to battle, the hidden mysteries of God's sovereign plan unfolded, reminding him that this day marked not only their fight but also the beginning of a covenantal legacy to reveal through them, a promise of salvation for all nations. Unbeknownst to the multitude, the true depth of God's scheme stretched far beyond their immediate victory, whispering tales of deliverance that would change the course of history forever. What they did not yet know was the pivotal role each of them was destined to play in the grand narrative of God's unfailing love and purpose. As the air thickened with tension and the clash of wills approached, Levi steadied himself, heart pounding with the rhythm of faith and expectancy. The majestic figure of the commander stood at the forefront, a beacon of hope against the looming shadow of the giants. The odds seemed insurmountable, yet Levi felt the quiet assurance of his God wrap around him like a shield. The giants roared, a cacophony of scorn and fear, mocking the sons of Israel as if to say their faith was futile. But Levi, surging with a faith ignited by divine promise, raised his staff high, a signal not of defiance, but of unity. "Hear me, O people of Israel!" he called, his voice ringing clear through the valley. "The Lord has not brought us this far to forsake us. Today, we shall see his deliverance." Courage rippled through the gathered multitude, bolstering their spirits as they rallied around their brother. The presence of God felt palpable, anticipation crackled like electricity in the air. For as surely as the sun rises, Levi knew that the God of their forefathers stood with them, ready to unveil his power. And then, as if ordained by the divine hand, the sky darkened ominously. The winds began to howl, swirling around them with a ferocity that echoed their anticipation. "He is with us!" Levi shouted, the wind whipping through his hair, amplifying his zeal. "Do not falter. Trust in his promises. For even as the giants loom before us, the Lord shall fight our battle." The commander of the Lord's army raised his sword, a gleaming beacon in the storm, spilling light upon the darkened ground. "Now is the time for action," he announced, voice resonating like thunder. The people surged forward, hearts ignited with courage, their faith unifying them. Even in the face of great unknowns. As the two forces met, a divine clash erupted. The thunderous roars of the giants were met with the cries of faith, a battle not just of flesh but of spirit. Levi felt an overwhelming surge of strength as he moved within the throng of people, each step fortified by the knowledge of who they were, the chosen people of Yahweh. With each swing of his staff, Levi called forth prayers, declaring God's promises. "We are not defeated, we are his instruments. Victory belongs to the Lord." The ground shook beneath them, both in battle and in the tremors of divine authority as Levi led the charge. Then, a sudden flash of blinding light surged forth from the commander's blade as he poured forth proclamations of triumph. "These giants shall be brought low, for the victory is decreed." The earth split and trembled, drawing gasps from the realm of the unseen as darkness clashed with the light of God's presence. As the battle surged, Levi's heart raced, fueled by the overwhelming assurance of God's faithfulness. The clouds parted, and a beam of sunlight illuminated the battlefield, revealing the giants faltering, their once terrifying forms now trembling under the gaze of the Almighty. Levi raised his voice once more, "Our God reigns. He does not abandon his chosen." Amid the uproar, one by one the giants staggered, fear creeping into their hearts as the Lord's presence enveloped his people like a protective fortress. The cries of despair from the enemy echoed, revealing the winds of defeat that began to flourish in the hearts of the mighty. Victory unfurled like the dawn as Levi and the people surged ahead, a tide of faith overwhelming the opposition. The ground quaked with the power of God, and in that moment, the truth of their identity crystallized, showcasing how God redeems, restores, and rebuilds legacies ravaged by shame and sin. As the last giant fell, a profound silence descended upon the valley, palpable with reverence. The Lord's people, once fearful, now stood upon the battlefield as witnesses to his glory. Levi gazed upon the faces of his brothers, experiencing an overwhelming sense of divine purpose. They were not merely conquering a land but embracing a legacy intertwined with the very heart of God. In the aftermath, the cheers of victory resounded, the people embraced one another, their hearts ignited with gratitude. Levi, breathing deeply, raised his staff, not as a symbol of his own power but of the sovereignty of God. This day, let us remember that the battle was his, and our obedience has led us into the fullness of his promise. The air shifted, and in the eyes of each clan, Levi perceived a new identity, a heritage reshaped by God's mercy unfolding before them. Their path was clear, unified under the truth that they were set apart, not by their past failures, but by the bright promise of their future, and as they journeyed towards the land of promise, Levi understood fully that this was not merely a geographical conquest, it was the unveiling of their identity as God's chosen people. Each step they took resonated with the echoes of God's promise, a divine assurance that their future was bound to his eternal love. In the days that followed, as they traversed the wilderness toward their inheritance, Levi shared stories with his people, memories of their trials transformed through God's redemptive power. He reminded them how they had been chosen to reflect his grace, and how in their unity, they bore witness to the world the truth of what it meant to walk with the Almighty. And as they stood upon the threshold of the promised land, Levi declared, "Here lies our destiny. Here, we shall fulfill our purpose, showing the world that God is a God who saves, who transforms, who restores." Thus, they entered the land flowing with milk and honey, each promise igniting within them the legacy that would endure through generations, a testament to the boundless love of their Creator and the faithfulness of his sovereign plan. Let each heart be stirred by this truth. For we are called to be vessels of his glory, instruments of his peace, chosen, redeemed, and sent forth to declare his promises to every generation. And like Levi, let us embrace our calling with courage and faith, for our God is faithful, forever true. Now, my dear friends, as you reflect upon this powerful account, do not let the message of God's sovereignty and grace fade away. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word and continue this journey with us. Leave a like now to help spread God's truth through the algorithm, ensuring others may encounter his love just as you have. Comment your spiritual reflections and how this biblical story has impacted your faith, for your words may resonate with those who seek his truth. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's merciful call today, because this is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Don't wait even one more second. Be the voice that heralds his promises and transforms lives through the power of his word.